So hold our heads up high and beat the drum to what we love. Risk the fall, or we have felt it all come crashing down from far above. Stars are rising, countless worlds colliding, only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we make the final call? We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies, the champions of the world that we defy. A solo ride of the few who rise up high, and we all fight at the last light. Oh.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Tuesday night battle. We got a good one for you today. We got Shadows versus K5 in the Elder Division. Now, this is going to be the last game for both of these teams, and it's a meaningful one as K5 fighting for their tournament life. They need a win to get into the playoffs, and then Shadows is going to be battling it out for a higher seed. Now, I am not alone today. I actually got some candy with me. I got some M&Ms. We got Moki and Mars. How are you guys doing today?
Hey, I'm doing well. Excited to see this matchup and to see if K5 can actually bring the thunder and knock out the Thunderbirds. How about you, Moki? How you feeling?
Really like what you did there. I'm
Yeah, thank
very
you.
excited to see this game. Shadows has been really up and down, and K5 is a mainstay of TLA, and it's really interesting to see what they're going to cook up for this series.
Yeah,
Yeah,
K5, big one for them today, coming off 3 losses. Obviously, need to win to get in. What is the pressure like for these guys when you know, hey, if we want to keep playing as a team, we got to win this game?
I mean, coming off being the second best team in the highest division, the pressure has to be on, especially to Yoshai and Chaos. They're long stays of this Discord, and they're very well known. What do you think, Marzipan?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of dealt with this a little bit in the previous series that we played yesterday. Obviously, winning the previous split and then coming in and underperforming, it doesn't really feel good. But then at some point, it kind of turns to you're no longer the fan favorite anymore. Like maybe at the beginning of the split, they had a lot of expectations on them that they weren't able to meet. At this point, there's not really many expectations for K5. They haven't been doing well. They've had a lot of roster issues. Like we have a new even support playing here that they haven't really played with much before. So at some point, like for yesterday, there wasn't much expectations for the Bog Dogs to do well, and similarly here. So they can kind of come in, I feel like, pretty fresh, saying, "Hey, we kind of have nothing to lose at this point. Let's just play our game, play League of Legends. If we lose, this is the end. But if we win, then it's just like kind of a Cinderella story, and it's potentially the start of something really great."
You know something interesting? I would like to see what the ego is like on Shadows. I want to see if they let Yoshai play Zakali. I haven't seen it in any competitive match, scrim or whatnot, but I've seen him stream it, and boy, is it nasty. Is there anything you guys are excited to see?
Well, I've heard hearing you guys talk about this top matchup, and I'll have you guys elaborate on this a little more. It sounds like this top matchup could be a banger, not only with the champion pools, but just with the skill level that's going to be up there. I'm excited to see some of those fights going on throughout this series.
From playing against Shadows and watching them in streams, Remy is a very strong player. I mean, he is a very good Scion. He's a very good Urgot, and his jungler is very aggressive. He's going to look for plays over the map. He doesn't care if it's mid or top. They're probably going to play mid or top a little bit because their support likes to roam. So I'm interested to see how Astra combats that. What about you, Marzipan? What are you looking for?
Well, obviously, as a support main, I'm a little biased, but I think a lot is really going to ride on this support matchup. Obviously, you have a Gask in the support role for Shadows, just kind of like a staple of the archives. Super solid player, like you said, loves to roam, loves to have a lot of these roaming champs and really make like his impact. And then K5 actually has a new support coming in with Reach. So really, when you have a new support coming in, especially when he has such a drastic different champ pool than the previous support that is outgoing. It can really shake up the team synergy and what the team is going to be looking for. So it could like kind of bring new life into K5 as we are actually going into picks and bans right now.
Yeah, we're getting into it. We're already seeing some bands come through. Reach, you were talking about him just there, already getting a ban. The Nautilus going away for him. And then on the side of K5, taking away the Ari one trick of Elise. Over almost 500 games played on that. So good ban there. And we might see this Akali get through for Yoshai on the side of K5. And right there, as I say it, it's gonna be banned away.
Not gonna let. I mean, having played against Yoshai last split, whenever he gets his hands on that Akali, it's just something you always have to worry about. That's always going to be on the back of your mind. You know, if he starts to get ahead, it's going to be almost impossible for you to kind of stop him from snowballing the game. And I think if you're Shadows here, you want to have a very stable game. Obviously, you're coming in as the favorites, so any kind of instability like that, having Yoshai on like a comfort champion like that, you're just not going to want. So removing that comfort pick, but then obviously that leaves open the Azir, which we know Yoshai really, really likes. He's just willing to play this really into any matchup. He plays this, he can play it as a hyper carry. He can play it as a playmaker. He can really do whatever you would want Azir to do, and it's just like something he's super comfortable with. So I think it's a good pick.
I'm really
Yeah.
expecting a Karma pick. That's a little bit surprising. What kind of supports do you pick against Karma? Do you try to get the Ezreal so they don't get that OP lane down there?
Yeah, if you're K5, you'd probably want to split up the Ezreal Karma. I mean, there are other good picks with Karma, but that one's obviously the preeminent one. If you have Ezreal Karma on your team, it's really hard to lose that lane. I think Karma is just like a really, really good blind support champion. It's probably one of the best in the meta right now. Normally, what you would want to play into it is something pretty aggressive, like the Nautilus, like the Thresh. The Nautilus has already been banned, so that might be why they're thinking that it's a very good pick for them. But just looking at Reach's support pool, he does seem to like those hook champions. He has a lot of Blitzcranks played, so you could potentially see something like that. It's a little more risky. Obviously, you have to land those really high impact hooks for it to make a big impact. Whereas for Karma, early game, you're going to be doing a lot of damage. You're going to have a lot of control, and then late game, you just press mantra on your E, and then you're just giving everyone shields. But yeah, so you do see that Blitzcrank. He's just saying, I feel like I'm better than you. I'm just going to hook you, and it doesn't matter if you shield yourself, you will die. You have the shield break from Blitz's ultimate as well, which is really good against the Karma as well. So it's just like a good answer into that.
Really excited to see what Shadows is going to ban here because they know their top is probably going to go blind. What could they ban?
I mean, it
Oh,
looks
Renekton. That's
It's
excellent.
weird to see the junglers in this meta go to the second picks, right? We've been seeing a lot of priority, I think, across the league. It'll be interesting to see if any jungle bans happen. What are you guys expecting now that you've seen the first 3 picks for both teams coming through in the jungle here?
I'd like to see K5 actually ban Pantheon. I think Pantheon with Talia is very broken, and having a bot lane that's probably going to be pushed a lot of the times helps him out very much with counter ganks and dives. Like, that character should probably be banned.
Yeah,
What do you think, Mark?
definitely. Yeah, when you have something like the Talia, you want something that's going to be able to move around a lot with it. Obviously, you have the Nocturne banned out. Ahri is a very, very good Nocturne, so it makes sense that you wouldn't want him on something like that. But Pantheon fills a very similar role where you're not attacking the mid lane, you're attacking the sides. It's really hard to attack this Azir. He's a very safe champion. Um, so you might want to like attack the sides, especially when you have the Ezreal Karma, which is going to have a lot of lane domination against the Corki Blitz, unless the Corki and Blitz go very, very aggressive. But then if you have that aggression coming out from K5, if you are able to attack those sides and then get your Ezreal snowballing, it's going to be very hard for them. So something like a Pantheon, something I know he likes Jarvan, but it's not necessarily very good here. Um, maybe even like something like Neferi he could opt into. But instead he goes for the Xin Zhao. I think that's fine. I think for sure you want something that can stand in front of your allies and take the blitz hooks. Anytime you have Blitzcrank on the enemy team, you want something that is going to be able to stand in front of them. Usually it would be a tank, but putting Ahri, your kind of star player, on a tank is probably not something you want to do. So Xin is probably the next best thing where he can tank those hooks, press his ultimate, and then he kind of becomes a tank because anyone outside of his range is not able to do damage into him. So I think that's a pretty decent pick when you're looking at the Blitzcrank and what he wants to do.
Very excited to see what they're going to blind top here. I mean, I don't think Jax is very bad considering Casante's banned. Maybe what else could be played? Vladimir?
like-
No, it's Dinar.
I would yeah, I would expect Shadows to want to pick some kind of tanky thing here. Something a little like I said, something that can help tank those blitz hooks because they're really indexing a lot on that. You have the Lee Sin, which is just going to help any person that is hooked in is probably just going to get one shot by what they have here. Corki does a lot of burst damage. Lee Sin does a lot of burst damage. Lee Sin is pretty good into Xin Zhao as well, especially in those early levels where Xin has a bit troubles with his clear speed. Lee Sin is going to usually have a lot of tempo on the Xin Zhao and is going to be able to duel him. And it looks like we might be seeing the Olaf pretty decent into the Gnar. Gnar in the early levels can kind of bully him out, but at some point, especially when Olaf gets his ultimate ability, he's going to be able to kind of run him down. So the Gnar really has to respect that. There isn't like so much CC on the side of K5 that you are super worried about, but Olaf, I think right now is just like a very high prio pick that we see in competitive play. In pro play, it's kind of pick banned right now. People are just playing it into whatever. There aren't many direct counters to it, and if it is able to get ahead, then it can just kind of run down enemy team.
A
Yeah,
very
and
good answer
now that we've
to
seen both teams, though, let me ask you guys this. Of these two, we're in game one of a match that means a decent amount. There is stakes to this. Which one is more easily executable, right? Because I think when these high pressure situations come up, ease of use matters. Which one, if you were in this game, which one would you be like, oh, hey, I feel confident with this team comp?
shoot.
I would have to say Shadows. I think it's a lot easier to execute. They really just have like a comp that can kind of stand its ground and team fight, whereas K5 really wants to look for the picks. They have their ways to start fights are generally pretty unreliable. You have a blitz hook, obviously it relies on you landing a hook on a priority target. That's not Olaf or Xin Zhao. You have Lee Sin. The way he can make plays is by throwing himself into the enemy and then getting an insect to throw a priority target into you. Azir, similar idea. You have to throw yourself into the enemies, and you're doing that on a mage that isn't really going to be able to survive unless you have like a really, really good angle. And then Gnar relies on having a stack Gnar bar, and then the enemies kind of disrespecting your engage threat. So no ways of just kind of choosing their fights as easily. Whereas Shadows can kind of stand their ground, depending on where K5 are positioning, and then just fight as 5. You have the Karmas giving you a lot of shields. Your Ezreal Karma is going to be a super reliable laner in the early game. I kind of really like what they're doing, and I think it's just a lot easier to execute.
The only reason I really like Shadows a little bit more is because I'm not really understanding the Azir and Lee Sin pairing. I think that Lee Sin typically wants laners that point and click CC. So his ganks are usually easier because he's more of a carry. But being Lee Sin, he's going to have a lot of pressure early and ability to affect the map. So I think it depends on how the mid waves are controlled. With Yoshai versus Misclick King, I expect Yoshai to win these lanes. I've played them both. Yoshai is a lot more clean with his gameplay. But I think that bottom matchup is going to be very difficult. Dealing with a gas, going for those first scuttles. Because I mean, Lee Sin's a little bit quicker. He wants to be quicker to the scuttles. I'm assuming that both these jungles are going to go top to bot. Would you agree with that or disagree?
Yeah, I think the thing that K5 has is they have a lot of playmaking, which they can potentially make, right? But I think it relies on the barrier of execution is really on K5 of finding those plays. If they let the game stall out and not really make much like headway into the game, it's going to be a lot harder for them to get back.
The only
The
problem
champion-
where I
Oh,
can
go
see
ahead.
them having is the side lanes. I
Mhm.
think Shadows has really strong side waves, but we're talking about pick potential. If they ever get a push on a side wave, they're going to be making plays mid like all day.
Yeah, this Olaf and this Gnar matchup is going to be huge because if Olaf gets ahead, it's going to be tough to answer. But with that being said, guys, we are getting into our spectator delay. So we are going to go on to a short break. Don't go anywhere because this is going to be a doozy. We'll be right back here on the Archives. And welcome back, everyone, to game one of our match between Shadows and K5. Should be a good one as they are starting to spread out around the map. Let's get you through who is going to be running around this map in this one. First of all, we got Olaf on the side of Shadow with Remy wielding that one. Ari's going to be taking the Xin Zhao. Misclick taking the Talia. Paint wielding the Ezreal, and alongside him is going to be the Karma. On the other side, Casual King gonna run the Gnar. Astra on the Lee Sin. Yoshai on the Azir. Chaos on the Corki. And Reach went a little crazy and has the Blitzcrank. My co-casters today, Moki and Mars, what do you guys think as we get into this game? What are you looking for from both sides?
We were expecting a top to bot from both sides, and we're seeing that now. I'm very excited to see how this scuttle fight's going to play out. It looks like the Blitzcrank in the lane might actually have Prio, which is a bit surprising to me. I figured it'd be Karma. Can you tell me about that support matchup?
I mean, yeah, I think Karma and Ezreal are generally going to have the advantage. Blitzcrank level 1 is not much of a champion. If you hook in the enemy, you're not really going to have anything. So they go for level 2.
Yeah, you talked about it early. This Blitzcrank lane has to be aggressive, but they're going to get some damage back their way. And this fight's going to be relatively easy even as we see the lane now kind of stabilize.
So yeah, I think you see he fought very aggressively to get that level 2. I think when you're the double ranged into that, you can't let him walk up and just attack the minions for free. You kind of just have to attack him. But then when you're doing that, obviously you're not getting the priority yourself. So they both hit level 2 at the same time. They saw the all-in. I think that's actually pretty good for the Blitzcrank lane. You on the side of Reach, you blow the heal so that you don't have that movement speed to dodge the blitz hooks. They also blow the barrier of Ezreal. So it is a pretty low cooldown on that, so it's fine to burn that early. But if Reach hits another hook onto Paint, and he's not ready with that Arcane Shift, then it can actually be potentially a big kill. But in general, what you're going to see is exactly this. They're going to be pushing in the Corki Blitzcrank pretty early. If we don't see a lot of jungle investment, it's really hard for them, I feel like, to get the 2v2 kills with all the shields that Karma can put out. Ezreal just in the early game is very strong with his passive stack, attack speed. So we'll see if the Lee Sin can kind of make his impact in this bot lane.
Seeing Zir TP to the wave, we might see a fight down here. I think he's going to be a little bit too quick for him, though.
Yep, going to be a little fight over the crab here in the bot lane, but that's going to go the way of Xin Zhao as they're going to even try to push him out of the red side jungle, but they will end up backing before a hook by the Blitzcrank and a flash out by the Karma. Lee Sin going to try to chase. Don't know if they're going to have the damage or the mobility to catch up there. And a whole lot of posturing leading to nothing as Xin Zhao does get the crab on the bot side and looking for the double on the top side.
Yeah, so I think that was very interesting. The thing that we saw is that normally Lee Sin has a much faster clear than the Xin Zhao, which is exactly what we saw. But the thing is that Lee Sin actually used both of his smites for his clear, as we see Remy actually getting chased down by Casualty King. He goes a little too far.
Oh, Casual King, first blood over to Ari as he's going to save the life of Remy. And that Olaf on the brink of death. But Ari, there's the save the day.
Yeah, using that W shield just to survive that last proc of the hyper from Casualty King and just burning that flash for Ari to come in and just clean up the kill. That is really good for them. I think that's going to be really bad for the Gnar, who I think just wanted to kind of have like a pretty chill laning phase and at least in these early stages kind of get some, as we see a little bit of trading, just kind of get some early lane advantage against this Olaf. It's going to be a lot harder when you don't have the flash.
Here comes the Undertow. It's going to be slowing Casualty King as Xin Zhao comes in for the repeat gank and the repeat kill as the TP-less Gnar goes down again in the top lane.
Now, when you try to make plays like that early as a top laner and your wave's bad and you try to TP and fix it, there's a chance that you can get lane ganked, which happened there. And he's going to miss like 2 waves out of this, and he's going to be completely useless for like the next 15 minutes. It's going to be really hard for him to get in this game.
Yeah, I think it just removes a lot of the pressure that you would normally have in this top lane. You have the ranged versus melee. Normally Olaf in those early levels is a little more susceptible before he has his ultimate, and he can just kind of run you down with Ghost. But we see it just kind of turning onto the Gnar, and Gnar when behind is very hard to play. You're very squishy when you're in your mini Gnar form, and if you're caught out like that, you just get one popped. So it's going to be really hard. I think they're going to need to play through other lanes. Hopefully this bot side. The Karma doesn't have flash right now, so I do want to see Astra paying close attention to this bot lane, making plays with Reach. Reach has his flash up, so you can, get your flash knock up onto the Karma and maybe get some free kills. As it looks like Ahri and on this Xin Zhao is starting Dragon. It doesn't look like K5 knows that this is going on yet. Astra is on the same side, but it doesn't look like he's going to try and contest. He's just kind of give it up with all of this pressure that Shadow has in the bot.
Yeah, looking across the map, no vision for the side of K5. But I have a question for both of you. I love asking the question. I will probably ask it at the beginning of both games as the first Dragon does go over to the side of Shadows. It's the ticking time bomb question, right? If this game somehow goes to the 50-minute mark, is there a team that will have a significant advantage? Usually we see this, with the Kales or the Nasuses of the game, but don't have one of those. Some people would say Azir can fall into that, but either one of these teams you think have a major advantage if we do get to that 50-minute mark?
I don't think it's a major advantage. I think it's very slight. And I think it depends on which objectives they're going to be fighting up and how they're set up. Because both these teams scale very well. But where they want to fight is very different, and how they want to fight is very different. Like I said, I slightly would favor K5 on that. But depending on where they fight, it might also be Shadows. What do you think, Mars?
I'd say in a pure 5v5 sense, I think Shadows would scale a little better, as we see Reach maybe looking for some cheesy gank on this Ezreal.
Yep,
and
Ezreal's going to preemptively flash there as he doesn't want to risk the hook landing from Reach. And so that's no flash for the next 5 minutes for Paint.
Yeah, like I was saying, I think if you're just doing like a pure 5v5, the amount of shielding that you're getting out of the Karma, the kind of resilience that the Xin Zhao and the Olaf have to just run down the enemy team is going to be hard to match. I think the one thing that K5 has is the longer this game goes, the longer the death timers go. And so a single hook from Blitzcrank is really going to be massive in those late game skirmishes. If you're able to pick a priority target, it can really make a huge difference when the death timers go to like 40 seconds to 50 seconds. But as far as just like 5v5 scaling, I kind of do like Shadows and what they have going on.
Guys, we might see a little skirmish here over these Raptors as Ahri's going to go in, hook on to the Taliyah, gonna have to flash out there, but Ahri does get the first kill onto the Lee Sin as Yoshai gonna ult there with the Azir, knock back one, but Chaos now is the one under pressure as Ahri, 1 HP, gonna get killed off by Yoshai. And K5 gonna walk away as it ends up being a 3-for-1 favoring the side of Shadows. Or excuse me, K5.
That is a very big play that can blow up this game. Giving Azir kills in this game is very difficult for the other team to play into. They have no guaranteed CC. They have very low movement besides Ezreal. I mean, it couldn't have went any better for K5.
Yeah, I think that was at first I thought it might be a bit of an overstep from the side of K5. Astra was kind of caught out a little bit, had to kind of get up there very quickly. I think he burned his flash to get out. But just a little bit of an overstep from the side of Shadows. It looks like they just, the Blitz had a really nice hook onto Misclick King, and that just kind of turned the tides. At that point, it was a 3v4, and even though Shadows was obviously able to get a return kill, it just kind of wasn't enough, and that there's a really good look from K5.
Well, we got a Ghost up here in the top lane after Undertow, but it looks like nothing's going to come of it as the Olaf's going to have to back off as the tower is going to be right there for safety. Casualty King, not the best lane for him. Obviously, O2 already down 30 CS early on here.
Yeah, I think that's just what you're seeing, like the one overstep in that early game in the top lane that's so volatile like this. It's just going to snowball more and more into the side of the Olaf. Luckily, Olaf doesn't have his first item yet, but as soon as he does get that first item, it's going to be so hard to get away from him. It's just going to apply that slow to you, continue to apply that slow. And as soon as that tower is gone especially, and the lane is a bit longer, it's going to be really hard.
Hook onto the Karma. Knock up as well, and the ultimate's going to come through, and that's going to be an easy kill onto the Karma. Another one going the way of K5.
Is this Reach guy the truth or what? Can this guy
Yeah.
miss? Oh my God.
Laid down the gauntlet, and he's answering the call so far.
Yeah, I think that's a really good look from him. Like I was saying earlier, I think this is Reach's first official game with K5. I'm sure they had some scrims together, but this is the first official game with K5. And to just pull out the Blitz game 1, the team is really relying on you to make an impact. You're not picking Blitz to shield your allies and to, do anything that Enchanters can do. You need to hit those hooks and you need to hit the priority hooks on the priority targets in order to make an impact, or else you are less than useless for your team. And the fact that he is doing that already, he's hit 2 amazing hooks. The first one onto Misclick King in that jungle skirmish. He hit one just now onto a Gask who was just caught lacking. Had his flash up, I believe, there, and just didn't think that it was going to hit him. Getting that kill. Unfortunately, he takes the kill. Could have maybe given it to Corki, but I think you're just wanting to keep up the pressure, especially as this jungle or this dragon is spawning.
What K5 does really well. They time their resets to get good pushes. And with Dragon spawning and having priority in all your lanes, you have a good chance here.
Ooh, as we're going to have ultimates used in the mid lane, as they're going to be a kill going onto the side of Shadows onto Yoshai. Some fancy footwork there to avoid the seismic shove, but still ends up going down there. No flash. Easy kill for the side of Shadow.
Yeah, and it looks like potentially they're going to be trying to contest this. Yoshai is dead for the next 10 seconds, so this is going to be a 3v4 for now.
Yeah, as the Weaver Wall comes in, Misclick King kind of went in the middle of 3 people, but there's the seismic shove onto 3, and the kills are going to come through. 1 for Ezreal, 1 for Xin Zhao, as Dragon down low, going to go to the side of Astra, but Astra will not survive. Double kill for the Xin Zhao and Ahri, as that's going to be a 3 for none for the side of Shadow, but the Dragon does go the way of K5.
What, they're paying a Reese, but they need to start paying him some more. Because whenever this guy plays, he has an impact every time.
Yeah, then that seismic shove from Misclick King was just amazing, hitting onto all 3 of the members that were there. I think for a second it was kind of looking okay for K5. Ahri was pretty low from that mid lane play. Misclick King, I think, also was missing some health. They had the prio on the dragon. I think they were just playing a little too quickly.
Another seismic shove hit in the mid lane. Yoshai in a bad spot. Shurima shuffle, not gonna do much as you're going the wrong direction and you're going back to the respawn screen. Another kill going the way of Misclick King.
And just getting caught out here, I think he was looking really good in the early game. He was stacking his call, kind of just farming it out, getting some advantages. We see him making some flashy plays, but Ahri is just exactly where you don't want him to be at every step, and Astra just hasn't been able to make that kind of impact.
Interesting gate here by Ahri. It's going to be a 2v2 as already down to a 30 HP. Hook comes through, silence, and quick death there. Chaos gets the kill. Interesting gank when your Karma isn't there, and now you're going to see Astra coming around the backside. Gonna miss, but flash kick. Gonna land. Hook lands as well, and that's gonna be a death for Paint as it's gonna go over to Astra, who's gonna get his first kill of the game.
Man, I think that was a good look from Ahri at first, but just the turnaround. What do you think about that play, Moki?
I mean, he overplayed it just a little bit. But I don't think it's overall too bad, to be honest with you. I was more concentrating on the mid play that happened earlier. That play was possible because Yoshai was actually in the middle of the lane when he should have been farther to the right. All his vision is on the bottom side. He needs to be leaning there.
Yeah, for sure. I think he was just like way too far up. It looked like the same was happening in this bot lane where Chaos and Reach were at the enemy's tower. They seemed to be caught out, but just an amazing hook again from Reach to pull in the Xin Zhao after he had ulted. Sure, we can't hit you if we are outside of your ultimate, but if I hook you inside, then we can do all of the damage. The Corki at this point is very strong, especially as soon as he gets this IE, and with that shutdown, it's just going to help him get to that spike a lot quicker. I think, again, it does look good. Shadow is making some great plays, especially around Ahri, but the gold is even at this point. There's actually no big difference, and I think if anyone is going to carry, it's going to be Reach and Chaos in the spot lane.
Because there's a lot of members on this top side, as we're going to see the Ragnarok come through from the Olaf, going to the back lane onto Reach. Not going to be able to get the kill initially, but the Undertow's going to hit. Flash from Chaos isn't going to be enough, as the kill's going to go over to Remy, as Astra now in a bad spot. Going to jump to Yoshai as Shurima shuffle into Emperor's Divide. Don't know if it's going to really do much, as 5 members of Shadow is here. Casual King down to 1 HP. Reach going to hook in a member, but I don't know if that's really what you wanted to do. Misclick King going to take a tower shot, and both are going to go down on the side of K5. That's a team wipe. 5 for nothing. Shadow is starting to take control of this game.
I think that play shows you that K5 is new with the support. I mean, they missed the reset timers of Shadows, forcing them to have bad timers. The Taliyah had to go bottom to cover the Zir, so they were able to make a numbers play top, but because they played it too quickly, they actually didn't have those numbers and lost the fight.
Yeah, and I think in general, if you are K5, you want to wait on a bit more of your item completions to come in before you opt for that fight. If you just look at the items, Olaf had his completed item, while Gnar did not have the completed item. And while Corki and Ezreal are on parity, Corki is so close to getting that IE, which would just be a huge spike.
The bot lane, and we're going to see the Weaver's Wall as he's going to get away. The Olaf does TP in. There are now 4 members here for the Shadow. But K5 going to back off after an interesting shuffle there. Oh, wow. Yoshai going to barely get out there before Ahri's W can come through. Nothing's going to come of it. 3k gold lead, though, for the side of Shadow, as this 3rd dragon is going to spawn.
Yeah, if you're K5, you really need to be looking for good opportunities to make plays. You can't just be fighting any opportunity that you potentially can. You need to kind of pick your battles. Whereas Shadow, I think, can kind of show up at any fight and has a reasonably good chance of winning the fight. K5 needs to just be a lot more creative with what they're looking at. You saw in that last fight, the Reach was running into the Olaf, who ended up just kind of running over his entire team, and they just didn't have the damage at that point around them to actually burst down the Olaf before he could get out a ton of damage. If potentially Corki had his IE, Yoshai was with them, maybe they could have put that damage out if the Gnar had his item completed.
Double ult by the side of K5. They really wanted to get that kill on Misclick King, and they're going to, as both Dragon's Rage and Gnar Ultimate are going to be used, but they do secure that kill on the top side.
Behind, you want to start making cross-map plays, and since a lot of their pressure was on the bot lane, it made total sense to go top and try to make a pick on that Taliyah, just to find some remnants of gold.
Yeah, and I think, again, like that is exactly what they want to look for. When you don't want to fight this dragon right now, you just made some bad plays, you don't have your item completions yet, look for gold elsewhere. Go to the top side, get a kill, get some turret platings, and then once you have your item completions, then you can start fighting. I think at this point, they actually do look pretty strong. Casualty King finished his item. Corki has his 2-item spike. So I think that's why right now it looks like they're going to be looking for fights.
Hook's going to land on Ahri. 4 members here for the side of K5. Flash out into the Baron pit. Ahri's going to try to stay alive, and looks like Astra gets knocked up, but is going to be able to use the safeguard out. And after all that, I don't think anything's going to happen, as Mystic Thing is going to get engaged on and might just die. Chaos does get Seismic Shove, but is going to stay alive. He's going to use the Valkyrie to get out of that. And it's going to be a nice little pick there onto Misclick King.
How much did Chaos pay Misclick King before this game? That was weird.
I mean, he didn't pay enough to stop for that 3-man Seismic Shove, so it must not be maybe not $1,000, but maybe like $150.
$150. Nice few skins.
But yeah, I think that's kind of what K5 needs to look for as we're going to go into a pause. It looks like pick your battles more. They saw that Ahri was away from his team. You're able to get that hook. Corki has so much damage at this point. If he's hitting onto a target, they are going to die within just a few auto attacks. There's not really many people outside of maybe the Olaf that can really withstand the amount of DPS that and the amount of burst that Corki is putting out at this point. I think that's what they need to do. Yoshai on the Azir is about to finish his 2 items. I think once you have that 2 item spike on both of your cores, I think you can really start looking for more fights. But until then, you can just kind of chill. You aren't in such a drastic position yet. You have the Blitzcrank that can make these plays kind of out of nowhere. If you go behind a few dragons, it's not necessarily the end of the world for them.
Yeah, I think that Ari or that Zero is about 700 gold away from completing that second item, but we do have some items that have come through for both sides that are big, right? You have the IE coming through on the Corki. The Muramana has now completed for the Ezreal, and so both bot laners on 2 items. But the big lag behind is obviously going to be in this top lane. 129 CS to 170. Casualty King, he's the broke boy of the bunch, sitting on 1 item. What do you do when you're that far behind as a Gnar? Are you just doing anything you can to try to farm up? Are you trying to be with your team for plays so they don't fall further behind? How are you playing this if you're the Gnar?
Behind like that, you want to try to catch waves. But if you see that the other laner is moving, it is now your time to try to find gold. So you're going to be pushing your lane, trying to punish him for leaving. So you're kind of trying to hold this Olaf hostage without dying. It's a very hard wire.
Yeah, I think it's very hard for him. He's never going to be as useful as the Olaf is, just because you're down items. Luckily, he's not down a lot of XP, which you'd normally see when you're down this many CS, so that is good for him. But yeah, you want to catch the waves, usually on your side, so that you're not being run down by this Olaf. You want to keep up as much as you can in the items, in the gold and experience, and then just group with your team and make plays with them. A lot of times it's just going to be maybe peeling for your allies. If you see a really good angle, maybe you can throw the enemy into your allies, but it's just kind of finding ways that you can be useful, even though you're never going to be quite as useful probably as Remy is going. I'm very worried about the second item completion coming in for Remy. It looks like he's going for the Death Stance, which, if anyone knows, killing an Olaf with a Death Stance can be very difficult.
Especially as a Gnar, right? And so this Olaf, are you expecting more of, hey, I'm going to sit in the side lane and good luck to the Gnar, or if you send the Azir up there with the TP, good luck to either of them trying to contain me? Or are you trying to transfer this 2,000 gold advantage you have in the top lane to everywhere else on the map?
Expecting him to push as far as the tempo line allows him to, then start looking for plays with his jungler and with his team inside of the jungle and towards mid lane.
Yeah, I think for sure the way the comp that they've drafted really relies on kind of grouping up and playing as 5. I think if they try and just like split with the Olaf, it gives K5 more opportunities to attack him when he's weak, and go for that isolated kill, and get his shutdown. So if he's able to group with his team, it's really hard. I'm worried that K5 doesn't have the DPS check to really be able to take him out, and then also have the DPS for the rest of the team that's obviously going to be running with him. So we'll kind of see what happens, especially once, I think Shadows is going to want to play pretty chill until they have that Death Stance on the Olaf, and then once he does, I think very, very hard for K5 to win any fight that isn't one based off of like a really good blitz hook onto Misclick King or Pain.
Something I want to note too is this one dragon that did go the way of K5 is huge for the state of this game. If right now Shadows was sitting on three Drakes and in a minute 40 it was going to be Soul Point, I think we're talking about this game completely different. Even if it's still a 1,500 gold lead, it just feels different. As we might see a hook here by Reach, gonna land onto the Karma as the damage is gonna come through. That's gonna be a quick death for the Karma, as a flash out by Yoshai is needed, but they do get the kill. Wow, that's a quick one, but as I quickly forgot my point, the dragon stacking, yes. So if you're the side of Shadows, I'm assuming you're going to do everything you can to get this next dragon to get onto that Soul Point, continue pushing your lead. But I do think this game is completely different if it's a 3-0 Dragon difference at this point.
Well, with that death happening, K5 should have the advantage on the push of the waves here, and they should have the tempo to find timings to get these.
Holy seismic shove. Misclick King does not miss those. As the Ragnarok's going to come through, they're going to try to get onto Chaos. Valkyrie's out, but the flash is going to come through, and the kill is going to go on to Remy. Good kill onto Chaos there, as that might be it, as looks like they're heading towards Baron here, as it's going to be 2 dead for the side of K5. This might just be a free Baron for the side of Shadows.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate. Obviously, Astra getting caught out by that seismic shove, really good from Misclick King. But then we saw with the extended fight that happened afterwards, just Remy on the Olaf finishing that death stance, running into the enemy. I saw Chaos on Corki trying to hit him back and do a little bit of damage, but just none of it is sticking. If Olaf is attacking you, if he's getting those kills, getting those resets, you're just not going to be able to burst him enough. So then Shadows is able to get those picks, transition to Baron, and then also looks like going for this Dragon. We'll see if they overstep here.
We're going to have a fight as the Karma just keeps getting hooked. Going to have to flash out this time. Ari going to go in on Chaos. Chaos can't catch a break. Going to have to Valkyrie over the blue pit wall, as K5 is going to have to run away, but they may not let him. Shadow going to chase down Casualty King. As he goes down, Yoshai going to use the Emperor's Divide to gain some space, but it's still going to be a 4v5 here at this Dragon Pit, as it looks like K5 is just going to hand this one over. It's going to be Shadow going on to Soul Point here with the Cloud Soul.
The timings there, that was one of K5's best chances to actually get into this game, because they didn't have reset to use their tempo timers. Looking how bad that play went, it's going to be very hard for them going forth.
Yeah, I think it was rough. Chaos was in a very weird position. Normally, with the type of comp that they want, you want Blitz to hook someone in, and then for Chaos and Yoshai to be able to hit the same target. As we see potentially some more skirmishing here.
They love fighting over these Raptors, as we're going to see Weaver's Wall come through, and a quick death there for Reach, as he's going to go down. It's going to be an advantage for the size of Shadows. Yoshai goes down as well, but there's going to be a trade back. The Lee Sin going to take down the Xin Zhao. Ari going to be on the gray screen, as after all said and done, 2 for 1 in favor of Shadows.
Yeah, I mean, I see what they're trying for. The thing is that Olaf wasn't with them. I think any fight that Olaf is around, you see him just running over your entire team as he is diving the Lee Sin.
Speaking of running over a team, there's an Olaf right on cue, as he's just going to Ragnarok, but there is going to be an ultimate coming through for Casualty King as a failed Valkyrie by Chaos, but he's still going to get, no, not going to get the kill. Casualty going to snipe that one as the first kill of the game for him. 1-4-1 in this top lane, compared to the 4-1-4 for the Olaf, but the Olaf does eventually go down. It's going to be a 2 for 1 after all said and done.
Chaos's quirky W's and walls do not have a very good history with each other. But yeah, I think they definitely wanted to give that to Chaos, get him on a bit of an item spike. If he can finish this Lord Dominic's Regard, then it might be enough. I still don't know at that point, but maybe along with Yoshai, if they're both hitting on this Olaf and they get enough uptime, they might be able to kill him. Main problem is they're just not getting the opportunity to do that. Normally they're just being run down, so then you have to click backwards, and if you click backwards, you're not doing damage.
This is an interesting point here. So the cloth armor is picked up for Chaos. Is this going to be a GA, and how do you feel if that is the direction? Because the issue, I don't know if the survivability is the issue right now. It's more so you're not getting your damage down. What's your thoughts on this GA?
I think it's fine. It's just a little bit unfortunate for how far behind his team is. I mean, they have 3 characters that do quite a bit of damage and that are carry types. What do you think, Mars?
Yeah, I think the normal convention is if you are behind, you can't skip out on damage. You need the damage in order to actually get the kills when you are behind, whereas if you're ahead, then you can go for more defensive options because you normally have the damage already, and so you can go just to kind of not die. As it looks like potentially Yoshai going in for a kill.
Breaks Remus Shuffle into the Emperor's Divide. Gonna go on to Miska King. 1 HP survive, but he's gonna go down. Yoshai gets jumped on by Ari and the Olaf. As Chaos actually goes down first, but there's the root and the kill onto Yoshai. As it's gonna be a 2-for-1 in favor of Shadow.
Did you see how Chaos got caught there? I actually missed it.
Well,
Yeah, I didn't, Yoshai. I missed
they
it.
weren't quite caught. They were under the Azir turret, and Yoshai did go for a Shurima Shuffle onto Misclick King, but they weren't able to do much, and it kind of put them in a bad position so that Ari could get in there.
Wow, they are just running right into him. Shadow not afraid of anything right now. Is Ari gonna pick up another kill? Astra now doesn't look like they're long for this game. Astra goes down. Remy gonna take a couple shots to save Ari, but Ari will go down to Chaos. Chaos in a 3v3 right now, as Shadow's just gonna back off and go spend that well-earned gold, as Dragon's gonna come up here in 40 seconds.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard for K5, I think, to contest for this. You just don't have the items, the gold right now to actually be able to contest the 5v5 from Shadows. The way back into this game, it seems very difficult. I think you have a comp that relies a lot on getting picks with Reach's Blitzcrank, which, he's been getting some amazing hooks, but a lot of those hooks rely on you having some vision control to play through, which he just doesn't have. And when he tries to get the vision control you see here, leaves him very susceptible to getting caught out.
Yeah, as we're going to see some posturing from both sides. Control wards being used properly. Always like to see that being done, but no more in the inventories for either side. So whoever's going to be able to clear out this vision first is going to have the advantage, as the Dragon's just going to be burned real quick by K5. Really well played. They were able to push him off. Remy, though, looking for the chase, as we're going to see a Weaver's Wall come through for Misclick King, but I don't think anything's going to come of it. Xin Zhao is chasing. We're going to see the ultimate come through by this Gnar. The disengage worked well, and they're able to get out with their lives, and more importantly, the Dragon.
I mean, that's Yoshai showing you why he's the legend, right? I mean, oh my god, that shuffle is beautiful.
Oh, and they actually go in for the kill onto Ari.
Oh my goodness, and they do get the kill onto Ari, as the trade kill is going to come onto Casualty King. But Astra is down to almost 1 HP. He's going to go down. Misclick King gonna get the kill there, as Blitzhook's gonna miss, and that should be the end of the fight, as we're gonna see an ultimate from Ezreal go through. Not too much damage, but the sieging will continue, as this bot tier 2, the last tier 2 for the side of K5, is gonna go down. And they're going to try to reopen the base here in this bot lane. Mid lane already open. Bot lane looks to be next, as the hook does come through. But I don't know if you wanted that hook to happen. Remy going to take a couple of turret shots, as we're starting to see some pings onto the Baron. As you see Xin Zhao pinging it a couple times. So might see a back into Baron here coming up for the side of Shadows.
Plays like that are actually a little bit in the favor of K5. Them not taking their time to get their resets to get directly onto this Baron gives K5 time to get through their death timers and reset and get some of these waves pushed out before this Baron is actually a real problem. They're very fortunate that they overplayed a little bit.
Yeah, I think the last sequence was actually really good for them. I don't think that they had any business getting that dragon, and Shadows just really kind of dropped the ball and let them do that. But obviously it's going to be a lot harder to get onto this Baron when Shadows is already set up for it. Like I said, it's going to be really hard for them to find those 5v5 fights if they are just running at them. Hopefully Reach can find some angle to get a priority target to start off the fight. So we'll see if he's able to do that.
Yeah, as we're going to see the Baron started by the side of Shadows. Hook's going to miss. Very important there, actually, that one missed, as Dragon down to 3,000 HP. Oh, the steal attempt was there for Astra, but wasn't able to get it, as the last hit actually went to the Talia of all things. But Baron the way of Shadows, kill the way of Shadows, and it's going to be a 4v5 with Baron. This one could be a tough defend for the side of K5.
Yeah, and I think on the side of K5, you really want some way to cut all of these shields that are coming in from the side of Shadows, and just not getting that Serpent's Fang on any of your players, I think, is a bit of a mistake. sure you have the Blitz, who's going to be able to press R and break some of those shields, but you can really only do that once. Whereas Karma's going to have her E up every 4 or 5 seconds to be able to hit those shields. You have the Olaf obviously with his W and with his Sterak's Gauge shield, so it's just going to be really hard for them. You saw it in that last fight. Even when you're able to get onto the Olaf, it's just really hard to actually burst him down with all of the shielding that he's getting. As he does get a nice hook onto the Olaf, though. See if they have enough damage.
Nice hook, but wrong target, as the damage is going to come through, and Astra is just going to fall immediately. Weaver's wall going to cut him off. There's not much that K5 can do right now. They're just down too much gold. 9,000 at the moment. As the base is in shambles, Shadows looking to end here on this push. Baron's still up for a little bit longer. Flash going to have to be used for a misclick King. They might actually have to back off just temporarily. Okay, they're going to get the wave and push it back up here and start sieging this top lane turret.
It seems like they're just trying to play it as safely as possible. When you get a 3 inhib at this level, it's really hard to play through.
Not a bad fight there, but Yoshai is going to go down. This should be it. Casualty King getting low. Ahri going to hit the W. Wow, Ezreal shifts in, get the kill. Hook on to Misclick King, but the Sonya is going to be used. I don't know if they're going to spot. Nope. Going to go down. Reach getting low. Going to have to flash out. Hey, you got to be careful with your Shadow. This card can still do a lot of damage, as you're seeing right now, but it's not going to be enough in the end. As the kills are going to come through, and the win going to go to the side of Shadow. Game 1 of this important series. 1-0, you guys. What'd you think of that one?
I think Ahri showed up to play tonight. Oh my god, did he have an excellent early game. He set up Shadows for victory. I mean, solo, besides top lane, even top lane, every lane was losing their lane just on their lane until he started affecting them. He did such a good job that game.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I'd say on the side of Shadow, Ahri would be my MVP as well. You saw it less, if you maybe tuned in on the second half of the game, you might want to give it to Remy. Obviously, he had just a baller game, but really he was set up by Ahri. Ahri also looked a lot mid and was able to relieve some of the pressure that Yoshai was doing on Misclick King and made sure that Yoshai didn't get ahead. He was just kind of everywhere, relieving all the pressure that he could and kind of affected every lane. On the other side, on the side of K5, I think Reach had a really good game. I think he had the most impact out of any of the playmakers on K5. He was finding the hooks, getting them on good priority targets. The main problem was they weren't always at the correct timing that you could maybe get like an objective off of it. And the rest of K5 were floundering so hard that when it came time to the team fights, even if you got a hook onto a nice target, it just wasn't enough because Olaf would just run you down at that point and didn't have the damage to kind of out DPS it. So it was a good look from Reach with his debut game here, but it just wasn't enough.
When I look back at this game from K5, I think you could see how hungry they are for a win because they're trying to make these very difficult plays left and right. We think about the Zir getting caught middle. We're thinking about the top laner, Gnar, getting caught twice trying to make plays. Like, they need to calm down and just play their game. They're good enough. They just need to believe in that.
Yeah, my biggest disappointment was this Lee Sin. You guys talked about it when we were right after the draft. This Lee Sin needed to make plays early, and really just didn't get anything going in the early game. And yes, had losing lanes, but still, as the Lee Sin, you have to have a little bit more urgency, don't you?
You do, but when you play against Shadows and you know Reese is on the other side, you know you're getting gapped. It just is what it is.
Yeah, I think he definitely needed to make his impact felt a lot earlier. You potentially, anytime that you are fighting into the Xin Zhao as a Lee Sin, you potentially can win those skirmishes, right? I think the main problem is that he was just never where he needed to be when he needed to be there. Ahri was. He was always showing up when K5 least wanted him to show up. And so that just kind of made the biggest difference. I don't necessarily think it was like the gameplay, like the micro or anything. He was having some good plays when he was where he needed to be, but it was more just the macro of playing around his lanes when his presence was needed. So if he can kind of fix that for the next game, I think it's going to be a lot better for them.
Yep. And ladies and gentlemen, that is a 1-0 lead for Shadows as we are going to take a quick break here as we wait to get into draft for game 2. But don't go anywhere for this very, very important matchup between Shadows and KM5. Game 2 coming to you shortly.
Welcome back, everyone. And we're back for game 2 of K5 versus Shadows. Obviously, Shadows were able to take the game 1. K5 is their backs against the wall. They cannot lose another game or they will be out of the tournament for the entire split. So really the pressure is on for them. What do you think that they're going to be looking for coming into game 2, Moki?
Okay. Yoshai has some weird picks middle. It depends on how far they're going to hold his pick. I would like to see that Fiora, that LeBlanc, or maybe Azari. Like one of those three for him. I'd like them to pick it early to give his his team some time to form their comp. Shadows, they really like those bruiser jungles. So you're going to see a lot of Wukong, Zinzao, as we just seen, and maybe a Pantheon. Mystic Kling loves blind picking Oriana. So I expect to see that possibly.
Yep, and I think yeah, maybe if you're K5, maybe looking for something that is a little more team fight heavy. I think the main problem you saw from them last game is that their team fight was not that great. Like I said, they were mostly looking for picks. They were looking for people that were going to be caught out, and it was the onus was on them to really make like amazing plays, or else they were just going to kind of get run over fights. So maybe you can look for something like that. I know the Nasus is really strong right now, kind of fulfills a similar role to what you saw with the Olaf last game, where if you kind of let him get out of control, he can kind of just like run down fight teams. I don't know if any of these top laners, either Remy or Casualty King, really have that in their wheelhouse. But I think you just want something that is going to be a little more consistent, whereas the last comp that they had was kind of more um, more difficult to execute, I'd say. So the
I'd like
bans
to,
here look similar, except the Nocturne is not actually being banned from the side of K5.
and they chose to ban Oriana, which tells me he probably wants to play this Ari. That is a very hard matchup for Ari.
I'm a little surprised they switched up from the Nocturne. Ari is really good on the Nocturne, but he actually doesn't choose to take it. Maybe K5 had some kind of plan against the
Lunara.
Nocturne pick. But Shadows instead, Ari is going to go for that Jarvan. First picking Jarvan obviously gives K5 the opportunity to play around that, to pick around that, right? So you're probably not going to see them picking things that are very immobile. Like you mentioned, the Ari is a really great pick into the Jarvan because Jarvan has a really hard time locking the Ari down. Same with the Yunara. Before she hits level 6, obviously it's going to be a little easier to lock her down, but as soon as she hits level 6, she's able to ult out. Um, Ult and use that dash to get out of the Cataclysm. As they flash the Nocturne, instead they go for the Lulu. Unfortunate, I think, because Reach was kind of on fire with the Blitzcrank. I would think that you would want him on something more playmakery. The Nautilus is open. Shadows banned it last time, I believe, in the first round, and they actually kept it open, um, instead opting to ban the Echo. But instead of picking it, they're putting him on Enchanter duty, which I don't necessarily agree with. But obviously, when you have Yunara on your team, you want that Enchanter next to you. What do you think
So it
about
looks like they're
Shadows
going for this
picking
Nocturne.
Ashe and Seraphine?
I think it's just fine. I don't think that lane is crazy good or crazy bad. I mean, it's going to be a little bit hard for the Shinar to play because she's going to be outranged, so she's going to be playing for all ends. But they do have that Nocturne sharing, which is really interesting.
Yeah,
I'd
so
like
I
to
guess
see Sam's going.
they chose not to ban it. Instead, they pick it themselves. Shadows did have the opportunity. They do have first pick. They did have the opportunity to pick it. They decided, no, we don't want this. We prioritize the Jarvan instead. Ashe Seraphine, obviously very strong laners, very strong deeper into the game as well. It gives you a lot of playmaking. A lot of times you don't get playmaking out of your ADC. Ashe is one of the ones that can just kind of press her ultimate ability onto the enemy and really
Oh,
dictate a lot of the play later into the game. Um, and then, yeah, like you mentioned, the Nocturne from K5 just going to be very strong in the mid game. Looking at those picks, that telegraphs to me that they want to have strong side laners because strong side laners are very good with Nocturne because you can attack those side lanes, get those side laners more advantage.
the pick that I think would be quite crazy here, they kind of banned for it quite a bit. I think LeBlanc would be very crazy in this draft. Like, Shadows, as of now, doesn't have a really good way to deal with it. Oh, it looks like they're going for the Ari. I think they should have picked that earlier.
Yeah, I think the Ari is good. I probably would have banned it if I were Shadows. They banned the Rise instead. I understand the Galio. Galio is very good with the Nocturne, right? Nocturne is going to just dive into the enemy backline, and then Galio is going to be right on top of that and be able to ult onto the Nocturne and really kind of protect him. Um, I understand that ban. I don't necessarily think the Rise is like super good for the side of K5. You have the Jarvan that can lock him down. Ashe and Seraphine both can kind of ult him and just kind of stop what he wants to do. Whereas it's a lot harder to hit those priority abilities onto the Ari, who's be able to dash around. But it looks like they have an answer for it. Lissandra, obviously very good against the Ahri. What do you think about that matchup?
I think that if you pick Lissandra, you're pretty much saying we're playing for mid this game. This character needs ganks to function. She needs to get her friends ahead. Oh, their team comp has like very low damage. I think this game's gonna be quite hard for them, to be honest. Especially with Scion this early. Like a character like Swain is insane here. Vladimir is insane. They're going Ornn.
Yeah, so
Wet noodle
normally,
fight in the top lane. That's what
yeah,
that's gonna be.
tank v tank. I think this is good for the side of K5. Obviously, top lane was the lane that kind of lost them the game one. Obviously, the other lanes weren't necessarily doing that great except for the bot lane. But the top lane difference was really noticeable, especially after Ahri had that early gank and was able to kind of set casual tanking behind. Having the tank v tank is probably good for them, just for that mentality. Casualty King can kind of come into this game saying, okay, I am not the star of this game. I don't need to do particularly well. I'm just going to be farming against a Scion. Um, when a lot of the pressure is going to be probably on the bot laners on both of these teams, where I think Chaos and Reach did have a better game in game one, at least in the early game. The laning phase was pretty good from them. Um, Back to this Lissandra pick, I do think it's a good pick by itself. Obviously, it's good into the Ahri. You're able to lock her down, whereas it's a little harder for those other MCC abilities to really get on top of her. It's also good into the Nocturne. Nocturne likes having um, laners on the enemy team that aren't really able to survive his dive. Lissandra is able to survive it. She can ult herself. She can also ult the Nocturne when he dives in, and then he's just like a sitting duck and not really going to be able to accomplish much. So I think it's a good pick in a vacuum. But like you mentioned, they are lacking a bit of damage. They're relying a lot on this Ashe, which isn't necessarily one of the highest DPS champs until you get into the later stages of the game.
I'm gonna
Honestly,
say
I'm
this,
very
guys.
disappointed in this Ornn pick. I was looking for something like
Mhm.
Gwen, maybe a Mordekaiser, a set, something that can help out carry this game. I know you had a hard game last time, but you got to pick it up and you just got to keep on setting it.
Yeah, this game for this Nocturne looks very frustrating. If I was the Nocturne in this game, thinking I'm going to ult into the back line, there's going to be a Lissandra ult, there's going to be a Seraphine ult, there's going to be an Ashe arrow that can come through. There's a lot of things that are going to CC you, and you are very squishy on this Nocturne. So the follow up's going to need to be Johnny on the spot if you're the side of K5. Let's ask this question again because I asked it midway through the last game. Let's ask it in draft here. The ticking time bomb question. Do either of these teams have a major advantage if this game goes late into the 40-50 minute range?
I'd lean on the side of K5. I mean, they have Yunara, which does crazy damage late, and they also have Ahri that has really good pick potential, and they have hard characters to catch her, besides Lissandra. Um, but having the rage advantage on Shadows is very good.
Yeah, I tend to agree. The Inara is generally going to be a bit of a better scaler than this Ashe. Late game Inara can really just kind of tear through fights, and Shadows are going to have a hard time kind of sustaining that. I think Shadows has a lot of playmaking, which is really good for them. I think when it comes to the lanes that Ahri can kind of attack, you can attack this bot lane. Ashe and Seraphine are going to be able to kind of set that up for you. You can attack this mid lane. Obviously, Lissandra can just kind of flash ult the Ahri, and if you have the burst to kill her, then it's going to be really good. Whereas on the side of K5, I think you really want to attack this bot lane and get your Yunara ahead. If your Yunara is ahead, you're going to be in this game and be able to output that damage.
How's the
I,
prio early for the both sides for the bot lane?
Generally, the Seraphine has the advantage over the Lulu, but Yunara has the advantage over the Ashe. So it's a bit of a wash. It kind of just depends. If Yunara is able to attack the wave, then she is able to get the priority over the Ashe.
Okay.
yeah, and I don't think either side of these or either of these teams had a draft issue, right? We see some of these games where you can just say, "Oh, draft diff, draft diff." I don't think we have that here, so it should be an interesting game two between Shadows and K5. Shadows trying to fight for a top 4 seed in playoffs. K5 fighting for the right to be in playoffs. As we're going to be going into the spectator delay, we will be right back with Game 2 of Shadows versus K5. And welcome back into the Rift as Shadows versus K5 is starting game number 2 here. Last game of the split, or the regular season, I should say. Gentlemen, we were talking about this briefly. This Nocturne, I found it very interesting, our discussion on when to use the ult once we get into the mid game here, right? During team fights. Can you talk a little bit on the nuances that this Nocturne is going to be looking at when it comes to ult usage?
I think he just pops his ult whenever the fight's ready to be engaged, and it allows his carries to reposition, especially that Ahri, which wants to find the flank ankles. Vision is going to be very important starting these fights because they're going to have to play them very quickly.
Yeah,
So
I
not
think-
as much as like a full dive, more of a, hey, we're going to use the darkness more than just the jumping on the back line.
Correct.
Yeah, when you're playing Nocturne, especially in towards like the mid to late game team fights, like he's very good in like these skirmishes, and when you have like an advantage, you can always create an advantage with the Nocturne ult. But when it's like 5v5, you're just jumping into the entire enemy team, and if the team is good, they're just gonna be able to kind of target you and kill you, especially when you don't have a lot of dive, like K5 doesn't have. So instead, what you end up doing is using the Nocturne ultimate as just like turning off the lights button, especially into a team that has so much dive like Shadows. You need to be really working together. So if Jarvan goes in, if Lissandra goes in, and then he turns off the lights, it gets really hard for Paint to step up and hit an Ashe ult, or for Agask to know where to aim his Seraphine ultimate. And maybe if Remy is like steering the truck and trying to hit like a Scion ult into the enemy team, all of a sudden the lights are off and he doesn't know where he's going. So it just gets really hard to actually like pilot these fights. And I think that's kind of what you're looking for if you're K5.
And if you're a jungler in this game, are you thinking of coming to this top lane and affecting this tank v tank matchup, or are you just
There's
avoiding it
no
completely?
way.
Are they on an island?
I think if like Moki can say he has played top before, like or not professionally, but in competitively. When you have tank v tank, like even if you come and you get like a bunch of kills for your Scion, it doesn't really end up making like a huge difference in the end of the game. And if the enemy jungler is going bot and getting this Yunara ahead, then that's just kind of GG. So I expect both junglers to really pay a lot of attention to this mid and bot lane. What do you think, Moki?
I think it's a little bit different when you're talking about Sion. Because he has that ultimate that allows him to travel so much space, if he ever gets prio, we're looking at a big play here, maybe?
EQ for Ahri not gonna land, as we're just gonna see the Ornn walk this one out and able to keep both summoners.
Yeah, I did notice this. Ahri actually pathed towards top lane, which I was not expecting him to do. Why do you think he might have done this?
Probably because he didn't want to fight that Nocturne early. I mean, fighting Nocturne level 4 is quite a nightmare. I think you'd agree on that. But going back onto this top lane, if you get ahead on Sion, you can get Perma Priority, and you can start proxying waves. You can back and affect every lane on this map. Like, you have so much setup with your laners here that you can just ult to a lane and kill anybody.
Yeah, and we're actually seeing Casualty King getting pretty far behind on the CS. We saw him do this thing that Ornns can do, where you opt not to go your starting item at level 1, because you can build items when you're in lane. So you end up going just this refillable pot. You go with 0 items, and then you just end up building that item once you have the gold. But it looks like maybe Remy realized what was going on, knew that he was much stronger, and just kind of pushed him off of all of these lanes. So good for him, and I think maybe a misplay from Casualty King.
Yeah, already down 22 CS. That's a hefty lead this early in the game.
Early in this matchup, it's very Sion favored. It doesn't like even out until they get about 1 or 2 items, and Ornn has some levels. Ornn scales very well with levels, while Sion will scale better with like CS. So like early game, it's going to be a little bit on Sion's side. How do you think this bot lane's going?
I want to jump in here before we kind of talk about this bot lane. Level 5 for this Nocturne, level 6 going to be coming up here shortly, right? How important is this first Nocturne ult for the state of the game, making sure he finds a good use for it?
I mean, I think...
Go ahead, boss.
Yes, fighting actually.
Wow, first kill going over to the side of Shadow as the CC does come through and they're able to have enough damage to get the kill onto Chaos. Didn't really expect that one to happen, but Shadow saw the vision and was able to execute.
Yeah, so that was just, they had a lot of priority in the bottom lane. Like I mentioned, like Ashe Seraphine is just like a very strong 2v2 lane, and if Yunara isn't able to like constantly hit the minions, she just doesn't have the wave clear to be able to fight against it's only the Seraphine that has like kind of a lot of wave clear and a lot of poke that is able to really kind of push you back, whereas the Lulu doesn't really have as much. She gets outranged by the Seraphine, she gets outpoked by the Seraphine, and she offers more of the scaling where the Seraphine has a lot of lane prio. So Ahri realized Nocturne wasn't going to have 6. The only way potentially that Nocturne could have 6 is if he takes this second spawn of the Scuttle Crab, but Ahri probably realized the second spawn of the Scuttle Crab was on the top side of the map. So if Nocturne wanted to get that level 6, he was going to have to go all the way to top side, in which case he was free to make this play on the bottom side, which he did, was able to get this kill onto the Seraphine, which is obviously not the target you want to get it onto, but not necessarily so bad. Thane does get level 6 and is able to hit the ultimate onto the Lulu.
Enchanted Crystal Arrow does come through onto Reach. Reach getting ever lower, but is going to be able to walk out as the damage isn't able to come through, as Paint does hit the arrow, but isn't able to get the kill.
We talk about how good Aris is. I mean, he solo won 3 lanes. Like, within the first 5 minutes of this game, he's affected every single lane, and he might do it again right now.
Yep, as we're going to see the Paranoia come through from Astra, and the kill going to go the way of Ahri, as Yoshai going to have to flash out. Astra still here. Ahri, interesting 1v1 this has turned into, as Misclick King does go down. They're just going to walk it out. And more fighting in the top lane. Call of the Forge God coming through from Ornn, as the ult also does come through from the side of Sion, as this is going to be back and forth auto attack. And after all is said and done, they're just going to walk away.
Who called this a wet noodle fight? Because those noodles are looking very deadly to me. I think what you're seeing, so the mid lane play I think was very good. The thing to note is that Yoshai actually opted to run the cleanse, which he was able to use perfectly against the...
Hold on, I'm going to stop you here, because there is a tower dive opportunity. Remy's going to try to push this wave as quickly as possible. It's going to be interesting to see how long does Ahri stay here. Is he willing to wait the extra 15-20 seconds to get this kill? And yes, they will. Ahri gonna set up the EQ, gonna land it. W comes through, Q comes through for Remy, and the kills gonna go the way of the Sion, as the tower dive does work.
Yeah, that is just good patience from Ahri. Obviously, you're sacrificing your own CS when you're doing that, and you see that difference manifesting in the CS difference between the Jarvan and the Nocturne. But if you look at who has the shutdown, it's the Jarvan, because the Jarvan is around the map, he's making plays, he's getting his laners ahead, and most critically, he's getting the opposite laners behind. Now, they are able to get the dragon. He made the play on the top side, he overstayed that far, so they, side of K5 are able to get this dragon. Astra's able to pick that up, but it eventually is a trade back for these Void Grubs as well. So I'd say that's still a positive trade overall for the side of Team Shadows.
Yeah, and we talked about early on, should you gank top or should you not? And I know one of you said, it doesn't really affect much, because if you get either of the tanks ahead, it doesn't really need to much. But what Ahri has done, he said, screw the tanks, I'm going to get myself a lead by ganking top. Now 1-0-2 onto this Jarvan. Does have that shutdown, as we're going to see an Enchanted Crystal Arrow go into the mid lane. It is going to hit the Ahri. Is there enough members close enough? You're going to see the Cataclysm come through from Ahri, as this is a weird casting, as we have a player named Ahri and a champion named Ahri, as we also have a Nocturne, and that Nocturne is ulting bot lane and killing the Seraphine. After all that, it's just a 1-for-0. Seraphine going to be the lone death for the side of Shadows.
Yeah, we've been hopping praise all over Ahri. Now we need to give some to Astra. Noticing that Ash's vital ultimate was gone, he immediately responded with an ultimate bottom, knowing that he can only be CC'd by Seraphine. Very good play by him.
Yeah, I think that very good look. I think if you are Astra, you want to get this bottom lane ahead, like I mentioned. If Yunara is able to get the items and is able to get strong in the mid to late game, she's going to be able to carry those fights. Also, Nocturne plus Lulu is a very strong combo that maybe people might not realize. Nocturne is able to get onto the priority target, get right on top of them. Immediately, the Lulu is able to knock up whoever that target is with that wild growth, and then the fear comes out directly after that knockup. So it's just like so much lockdown onto a target, as Casualty King is actually taking a lot of damage from Remy here, and Ahri is here potentially just to be able to pick up this free kill.
It's the dead Ornn and Remy playing the team games, saying, hey jungler, I love when you come top lane, I'll give you the kills, just keep helping me kill this Ornn, as this Ornn is in a really bad place. Down nearly 50 CS 11 minutes into the game. I know you're a tank and you're going to be able to come back eventually with levels, but this might be a little too big of a gap to kind of justify the tank play.
Yeah, I definitely said earlier that I didn't think this top lane was going to matter much. That Casualty King probably was enjoying the tank v tank matchup, but it doesn't really seem to be happening. He is down 50, 60 CS at this point, just really far down. Even if you're just playing a tank at this point, as actually Astra is getting hit by this.
Yeah,
Easy
EQ
save.
plus the encore from Seraphine. There is nothing you can do. You're just CC'd forever, it feels like, if you're the Nocturne, as Astra's going to go down. Oh wow, the Frozen Tomb gonna have to come through as the Ahri put down some damage onto Misclick King. Nothing will come of that, but the cooldown is used. Oh, as wow, the flash into the charm is gonna get the kill. As we thought Misclick King was out, but not quite. Good kill for the Ahri.
Yeah,
That was
I think
really good. It went to the Yunara because she's going to be able to progress the game for K5, where I don't think many other members would be able to. So we got to see how that plays out in the 1v1 because Ashe isn't getting any gold out of these kills. She's just getting the assist.
Yeah, and I think this is exactly what you want if you're on the side of K5. Obviously, your top side is going catastrophically. Don't want to look at anything that's going on in this top side. But when you're looking at this bot lane, like, it's actually going pretty well. This is kind of what you want. The early laning phase, I think, does kind of benefit the Ashe and the Seraphine. They're a very strong duo. But the later this game goes, you're going to have a pretty strong Yunara with a pocket Lulu next to her. Lulu does have the Mikhails, you have the cleanse, so you're able to deal with some of the CC that is being output. The main issue, I think, is at this point the Jarvan. Actually, because the Jarvan is kind of accelerated here. He has a lot of damage. If he is able to just kind of dunk onto the Yunara and kill her, then it's going to be really hard. But if you're able to survive that initial burst, then it might be good for them.
Uh-oh, Paranoia through from Astra in this Nocturne as they're going to go onto the Seraphine, and not much you can do there as you're going to get walked down. But on the opposite side of the map, they're making a play on the Casualty King as Call of the Forge God, kind of a wasted ultimate there as 3 members have moved up to that top side. And in the end, it's a 1-for-1 cross-map plays, getting it done.
Now, a big deal here is that tower top being down. I mean, this is going to give Sion so much time to move around, and Casualty King is just going to be stuck there. Like, he's going to be farming waves for about a minute before he can move after the Sion. Unless he's just going to drop the gold in the XP.
Yeah, and it seems like Shadows, along with Ahri, have kind of made this decision that Casualty King is who they want to target, it seems like, this entire series. They might think he's the weak member, the weak link, or whatever, but they kind of want to target him and then get Ahri and Remy ahead based on targeting him solely. But what this is allowing K5 to do is get their bot lane pretty strong. They have... Yoshai actually goes for a kill. Oh my gosh, that was a lot of burst from both sides. Both of them go down in just an instant as we have a fight in the bot lane as well.
Yep, we're going to see the wild growth come through from this Lulu as this Yunara looks scary. TB is going to come in. I believe that's going to be Remy, and it is. This Fed Sion isn't going to be able to get anything done, it looks like, as Reach going to be in trouble. Heal's going to come through. Is that going to be enough? Yes, the Paranoia is going to come on to Seraphine, and the Lulu's going to survive. Reach got out on 1 HP. The TP doesn't amount to anything, and it ends up being a 2-for-0 on the bot side as K5 said, hey, it's not over yet.
Yeah, so like I was mentioning, the Shadow is focused so heavily on this top side. We saw Jarvan pathing towards that top side and ganking it over and over again. K5 has been able to get Chaos very strong in this lane. He already has his 2 items, and I think this is a bit of a mistake because that is exactly what Chaos wants. They want to have this Yunara to be able to run through the Sion and the Jarvan. And the main question is, can the Sion and the Jarvan get strong enough that they can deal with this Yunara with a pocket Lulu? I don't necessarily know if that answer is yes. What do you think, Moki?
I think it's really hard with Nocturne. I think targeting with a Nocturne ult in these team fights is extremely difficult, but they do have Jarvan. Oh, here's a fight.
Yeah, ult into flash. You do not want to flash in a straight line if you're trying to get away from an enchanted crystal arrow. Reach did that and still got caught. Luckily didn't get punished for it, but that is going to lead to a Rift Herald as as it resets on him, but they still should have the damage and the numbers to get this one for the side of Shadows.
Now, a big thing going into this mid game is going to be the side lanes. It seems like that Shadows is trying to get their whole team ahead, but one thing that's not noticed is that Ornn is going to have time to become a character in this game, which is going to be very important. Because they're very short range, he's going to do a lot of damage. You need him to be tanky in this game.
Yeah, and I think the main thing that we're also seeing is that Remy decided to go for more of the damage on this Ion. I think that makes sense because they were focusing so heavily on his lane, trying to get him ahead. They got him turret gold, they got him kills and assists. So he goes for more of the damage build with the Titanic Hydra. You see this a lot with Scions in general. He has a lot of good AD ratios. That does mean that he is a little less tanky than you would normally see if he were to go full tank. And this just gives Chaos more agency to, I think, outplay him. If Remy is not hitting the fully stacked Qs, he's not like on top of Chaos and like, you know, auto attacking Titanic Hydra procs, he's going to be outputting a lot of damage onto the Scion.
I know you're a Scion, but this is a scary face check into a couple members. But Enchanted Crystal Arrow, gonna miss this time. But I like the fact that Paint is not afraid to throw those out there, right? Always fishing for picks, which is good because if I'm the side of Shadows, I want nothing to do with a 5-on-5 team fight because even though they're up 3,000 gold, I don't know if I'd pick them to win a team fight right now. As we're going to see another Paranoia in the top lane, Ahri's going to also use the Spirit Rush, but the Frozen Tomb going to come through and might save Mistclick King. Yes, it is. The Nocturne's still in the area, but the TP is actually going to come out to get Mistclick King to safety as they drop the Herald mid lane, going to get the charge off. And wow, EQ ult for the J4 as that's a dead Lulu. Chaos is going to ult, but he's going to have to dash out as the second charge is going to come through on this tier 2. And another EQ straight onto Chaos, but I don't know if they're going to have the damage to kill. They do. Ahri gets a good kill onto Chaos, going to flash the wrong direction. But should be another turret going the way of Shadow, even though it looks like it's going to be a 2-for-1 in the favor of Shadow, plus 2 turrets. So great play for them, coordinating in the mid lane.
Yeah, you saw Astra just looking to attack this top side with the Lissandra, and it just gave Shadows so much room on the map to make plays of their own. They had the Herald, they were able to go mid, they ended up bringing all 5 of their characters. Lissandra was able to get out with the TP, and they were able to make a lot of good plays, get some gold, also get some of the tower gold. Luckily for K5, they were able to get some gold back, especially the shutdown onto Ahri. He had a 700 gold shutdown, which was able to go over to Astra on this Nocturne. Not necessarily the target that you want, but it was able to give him enough gold to this item, as they are looking to contest this dragon.
On the miss.
Oh, we got a 5v5. Paranoia gonna come through onto the Mistclick King, but the ultimate is just gonna save her, keep her alive for a long time. But Chaos, free hitting in the back line. You need to get out of there if you're Shadows, because a free hitting Yunara is a very scary prospect. As the kill is gonna come through for the side of K5, and they're gonna have priority over this mid lane. Might try to even turn it into a Baron.
Looks like they probably really want to get this tower. I think Shadows has enough wave clear that they're just not going to be able to do, so they're going to end up dispersing. I think you saw there exactly why this Nocturne is such a strong pick in these fights. He was just able to turn off the lights, was able to go onto the priority target of the Lissandra, and this just gave Chaos so much room to free hit. If you looked at the position that Chaos was in, as they actually go for more fights.
Oh, that's a lot of damage on a Chaos just via the ultimate from this Scion, but what next, right? Still a lot of movement speed, even when you're not ulted on the Yunara via that E, but able to walk it out, and ultimate used, no reward.
Yeah, it doesn't amount to much, but like I was mentioning, like Chaos was actually in a very odd position in that dragon fight. He was kind of on his own and wasn't really being protected. But the thing is that Shadows didn't realize that he was on his own and wasn't being protected because they couldn't see him. So he was able to kind of free hit, and because he was able to free hit onto the Jarvan and onto the Scion, he was able to do enough damage that Shadows just had to run away. Unfortunately for K5, Shadows were able to pick up that dragon, so Ahri was able to get the smite onto the dragon before he was able to peel away for his carries. So not much gained there, but I think that just kind of shows what both teams want to do. Shadows are going to look to engage, look for those 5v5 team fights, and if K5 can kind of split up the fights and make a lot of space for Chaos to carry, I think he has a really good chance of actually carrying this entire game on his back.
Now, Mars, I have a question for you. With
that?
having both carries having cleanse, what is the value of Mikhail's?
Well, we have a little bit of a fight here.
Yeah, Mistclick King gonna go into a battle with Yoshai as Yoshai will get the kill onto Mistclick King, as in the mid lane it's gonna be traded back. Kill going the way of J4 onto Reach, as it just ends up being a 1-for-1.
So the Mikhail's obviously it's good as a backup, like especially if you're communicating very well with your carries. You can just ask them like, hey, do you have cleanse for this fight? If they don't have cleanse, then you know you are on cleanse duty, so that you can do that cleanse for yourself. Also, your front line is not immune to CC, and they can be bursted down. So if your front line, you notice, is getting ulted by the Lissandra, which I expect the Lissandra more and more as these team fights go, instead of looking for the backline targets, which are normally going to have cleanse, if the Nocturne ults in, you're just going to ult the Nocturne. You're going to ult the Ornn if he's stepping too far up. And then you can kind of look for that target to cleanse them so that they can kind of get back to safety. Maybe bait Shadow into kind of pushing too far up where they're not supposed to.
One big thing I'd like to talk about is the top lane being pushed out as far as it is. It gives Ahri some time here, which is Yoshai, to look around for plays where Lissandra has to clean up the waves or misclick them.
I hear an unstoppable onslaught come through. That's going to be in the mid lane, but Astra's going to be ulting onto Misclick King, and the kill's going to go over to Astra as Paranoia used, and they're going to get the kill onto Misclick King.
Fight's not over yet.
No, definitely not over. Call the Forge God gonna come through as, wow, bunch of different ult. Lulu's gonna overgrowth, or wild growth, excuse me, the Nocturne, as a lot of fighting, but not a lot of kills, as we're gonna only see the Jarvan go down for the side of Shadows. Is it gonna lead to anything? Probably not. Dragon in 35 seconds. So J4 will be up for that one, but gonna be a little late, as K5 should look to try to get some priority around this Dragon Pit.
So, yeah, okay. I think sorry, it was a really good call from you, because I think exactly what you said is exactly what happened. Misclick King was just caught in the rotation when he was trying to collect on these sides, and the Ahri and Nocturne were able to find that priority target. The nice thing is that Nocturne, when he turned off the lights to go after Lissandra, Shadows was actually looking for a play in the mid lane, which was completely snuffed from losing vision. So they probably could have gone onto, maybe Reach or maybe Chaos, but they weren't able to because they just see what was going on because the lights were off.
This is going to be K5's chance, right? You're kind of forced into a team fight at these neutral objectives. What can they get done? Watch Chaos in this fight. Is he able to free hit? So far, so good for the side of K5. Is there going to see damage go on to Misclick King? But that Frozen Tomb is going to be used. When will the lights be turned off? Astra is holding on to that Paranoia as the Ash Arrow does not hit. But Yoshai gonna go down anyways. It's gonna be a 4v4 fight. Both mid laners down, as we're gonna see an encore come through, and the dive is going to be initiated. Chaos, can you stay alive? No, the Jarvan's gonna get the kill. But on the opposite side, you're gonna see the Nocturne be able to kill off Ash, as J4 also gonna get the kill onto Lulu. Shadow, looks like you're gonna be able to wipe this fight as Astra, the only one still alive. 4 for 2, favoring Shadows.
And that was just like a very scattered fight, I think, which ended up benefiting Shadow. The thing is that K5, more so than Shadow, really wants to protect their backline. If Chaos is dying, the fights are not going well. Whereas on the side of Shadow, the same is not true. So Yoshai ended up diving pretty deep into enemy territory, ended up pulling a lot of members from Shadow, and they were able to get a kill, a priority kill onto Mystic King, which seemed good for K5. But the subsequent fights just didn't go well for them. Chaos was very well unprotected, ended up getting hit by a Scion ult, which just should not be the case. You have an Ornn, you have a Nocturne, they should be standing in front of this Yunara. This Yunara should not be getting hit by these stray Scion ults, and because of that, they ended up losing the fights, even though they were able to get some kills onto the backline of Shadows. Shadow are able to play fights as Jarvan and as Scion a lot better than the Nocturne and the Ornn can. So as soon as that happens, they just have to kind of peel off.
That empowered auto from Scion does a lot of damage, as Yoshai gonna have to use the Spirit Rush to get out of the way. Wow, this Scion hurts.
If I had to say anything about the Bog Dogs, which aren't in this game, but we do have a team member here from that team, is that they're very good at using combinations that need flanks. So, as the opposite team, playing that Ornn, who are you
We're
marking?
gonna have to interrupt you as we have a face check. Jarvan decided to face check the banana bush, and there was a Nocturne sitting there. As wow, Jarvan doesn't care. He is going in as the lights are gonna get turned off. As Paranoia onto the Seraphine, as we're gonna also see a Cataclysm onto Chaos, but Chaos does survive here. But the free hitting paint gonna proc the GA of Astra. Chaos gonna jump in. Can she get out of there? But no, the ultimate on the face of Chaos from Seraphine. And that's going to be a wrap, as it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 for the side of Chaos, as Yoshai going to need to run away, but Miss
Don't
King
attack
says,
that
heck
ward.
no.
No.
Yep.
That was such a wipe. I think the main thing you saw in that fight, and the reason that it went so well for Shadows, is that Ahri had GA. Like, he was able to buy so much time. He just kind of went in like a madman, but he knew he had GA, so in the meantime, K5 couldn't progress the fight any further, because if they tried to push too far into Shadows, Ahri was going to come back up as this Jarvan and just kind of wreak havoc. So it just bought them so much time, and obviously Remy with just an amazing ultimate point blank onto Chaos. As soon as Chaos dies in these team fights, the fights are over. You do not have the DPS to get through this Ion if Yunara is not free hitting. Unfortunately, there was a stray pink ward that Yoshai thought was just too juicy to not auto attack, and that spelled his demise. So Shadows is able to get Baron here, which is not looking good for K5. As you mentioned earlier, when it comes to like looking for flanks, the first thing that you need to do is wave control. You need to be pushing the side lanes properly so that you have enough room to actually look for the flanks, as Yoshai is actually just getting flanked from the blue buff pit and is just going down.
That's not your jungle if you're Yoshai. Something to note there, interesting, I think Chaos may have gotten Scion to ult again, or at least it was right next to you, and you still have flash, right? You need to be Johnny on the spot with your flash and your summoner spells. That fight was huge. That's game changing. So I'm a little surprised that flash wasn't used to try to gain some space. But the only positive is you now have it up, as Paranoia is going to be used onto the Ashe. But yeah, that's a one-way trip. As Ashe going to get the kill, the tower is going to go down, and now it's full retreat for K5. Ooh, a lot of damage coming through, as the base is now officially cracked. As they're going to now turn their attention to this mid lane turret, try to get this down and get double inhibs.
Yeah, and I think
honestly, watching this game, I feel like K5 is really feeling the pressure, and they're really trying to overplay, and they're getting tilted from it. Like, they know that these plays they're trying to make are low percentage. There has to be like a little bit of mental frustration on their side, because these guys are all very good players.
Yeah, and I think the main thing that you're seeing as well from the side of Team Shadows is they're playing the fights in a very... The thing is that K5 needs to hit the first target. They don't have a lot of backline access. They do with the Nocturne, but he doesn't really want to go in. So you're just playing for Yunara, so you're just going to attack whoever's in front of you. The thing that Ahri is doing that I think is really good is he is pushing very far forwards towards K5, trying to get Chaos to attack him, and then EQing back into his team and kind of begging Chaos to try to continue to auto attack it. And what that does is that Chaos is just no longer able to go forward. And if he does, then he's in a lot of hurt from the range of the Ashe and the Seraphine ults.
Yeah, we're gonna see ultimate used from both sides, but Chaos free hitting, but not doing any damage to Remy. This is crazy. Even with the LDR, the damage is just not there. The duel difference is too vast, and Shadows, they're just gonna walk it right down mid lane, and they're gonna start hitting on these turrets as it looks like we're getting into a 2-0 in favor of Shadows as they're going to take the win. They're going to take fourth seed, and they're going to go into playoffs on a high note and a win. Well played. Shadows gets the 2-0 victory.
One thing we haven't talked about that I've seen quite a bit from Airy that he did a very good job on is every time he made a play, he made sure to emote in their face. So he was the one making the tilt.
Bro, at some point, it's just second nature. I swear, I do that all the time, and you don't even mean to do it sometimes. It's just like your finger just goes to the button before you even realize what's happening. I think Ari deserves to kind of be BMing him like that. I think Ari, like we saw him last split, he's a super, super aggressive jungler, loves to get into the enemy's jungle, loves to make all of these plays. Sometimes it can turn into overaggression. And I feel like that is one of the things that these teams can potentially prey on is if he's looking for too much, you can punish him on that. We never really saw him being punished for his aggression in this series, and I think that might just be the growth that Ari has shown between the splits. Is that maybe the aggression is more measured than we've seen in the past, or maybe potentially K5 just haven't been able to kind of punish that aggression. But he was just all over the map. We see it a lot in the top side. It seems like in this series, that seemed to be really where they were paying a lot of attention, and it paid off. I kind of had egg on my face. I didn't think that top lane was going to be much of a factor in this game. I wasn't aware of Remy's game. Remy just completely stomped through that game. He had a lot of attention from Ari, but he used that attention very well. Didn't just sit on his laurels, was in the face of K5 and made the team fights impossible for the side of K5 and especially from Chaos.
Well, and you look at both games, right? Game one, very big lead in the top lane with help from the jungler, and then the game was accelerated by Ari in both games. Game 1 and 2, the same thing happened. The Olaf got ahead heavily with help from Ari, and then the Sion got ahead heavily with help from Ari. So it's kind of a rinse and repeat. You kind of see Shadow's plan before the game, if that truly was the plan, and it was executed very well.
I want to talk about Casualty for a minute. This guy actually is not a tank player. He plays a lot of carries top lane. And he's going into these tank matchups. Who knows how well he knows them? Who knows how comfortable he is on them? But when you're in games like this, you need to go to your comforts. I was expecting to see him on Jax. I was expecting to see him on Vladimir, his main characters. And not seeing on them, I think very much hurt their team because he could have been another link of pressure. That guy pulled so much pressure on tanks. He would have pulled them on carries as well, and he would have just shown everyone how good he actually is. I think it is, a displeasure not to see him on those characters.
Yeah, and
So
unfortunately for the side of K5, this does mean that they are eliminated from the tournament. So officially, K5 are not going to make it to playoffs. Super disappointing showing, I think, from them. Obviously, from last split where they were second place in the upper division. Obviously, I think this split they had a lot of changes to the roster, and also there was a lot of uncertainty in the roster. They had a lot of changes in their support role, their jungle, and even their top roles were kind of changing from week. So I think that probably had something to do with it. But I think especially Yoshai and Chaos are going to be very disappointed not to be able to make playoffs and make a deep run as they did last split.
Yep. And on the
Thing
flip
with
side,
changing-
though, Shadows, right? What do you expect from them in playoffs? I believe this does jump them up to the fourth seed. Do you think they could make a run in this Elder division?
Honestly, no. I think they can beat some of the weaker teams, but when they're up against, the mid never at scrims, the cuddle parties, the VIPCs, their solo lanes are not good enough besides Remy. Like they're losing on their lanes almost every game, and their top is bailing them out. You can't have that happen when you play against a better team.
I don't necessarily agree. I think they have shown here they have a recipe for success. Um, it's not playing through mid, it's not playing through bot, it's playing through your jungle pressure and a lot of playing through top. And I think if they can replicate this um, against maybe the better teams, you could call them, I think potentially they could maybe get some upsets. If you look at the bracket here, they're going
Mhm.
to be up against Killer Penguins. Potentially, I think that's probably going to be a very good matchup. I think Killer Penguins maybe going to want to play more towards their mid laner in Musa. I think the jungle gap in Shadows versus Killer Penguins might be enough to let Shadows kind of take that matchup.
I'd agree with
And then,
you there, Mars. 100%.
yep, round 2 though they will have to go up against the heavy favorite, that being Cuddle Party. Only dropped one game all split. Uh, we won't even focus on Shadows. Do you think anybody can mount a defense against Cuddle Party in the Elder Division?
No.
I
Ooh.
think for a game, maybe. For 2 games, maybe. But when it gets to best of 5, that team is very tough. You're going to have to be playing very good.
Mhm.
I don't think there's many teams in this league that can compete with them. There might be 3 of them. I would like to see the rematch against Mid Never at Scrims. That team is very underrated. They've been switching around a little bit of their roster every now and then. When their main roster's playing, that team and Cuddle Party are the 2 scariest, I think.
So if you go to Cuddle Party, they have a player called Kuzco who has been in 2 splits so far. He was on the Bog Dogs last split, and now he's on Cuddle Party. He has not lost a match yet. He's lost a few games here and
Ooh.
there, but he has an undefeated match streak in between 2 splits. He's played 24 games so far, and he's only lost 2 of them, it seems. This guy is just crazy, unstoppable. He started this split playing jungle. He's now switched to top lane, and he has just been gapping people in both jungle and top. So as long as Cusco has hands and a brain to use those hands, I honestly don't know if anyone could beat him. But if anyone could do it, potentially mid never at scrims, potentially VIP. I think VIP is the only one who has actually taken a game off of Cuddle Party so far this
Yep.
split. So potentially that could be it, but we'll see kind of as the split goes.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Well, for all those you watching out there, this is a phenomenal time to be watching the archives. It is playoff season, right? These games matter. A lot of win or go homes in all of our divisions. So make sure you hit that follow button so you can be alerted when the stream goes live. Uh, Besides that, I do want to thank you for tuning in. Uh, Moki, Mars, any last words?
I'm super excited to see this Elder division, especially. Playoffs so far have just been super exciting. If you haven't been tuning in, make sure you tune in. Yesterday, Bog Dogs got their first win in the entire season
Yes.
against VIP Junior. Very hype. I'm excited to see what Moki has cooking with the Church of Hjolt. They are some really fun games to watch, so I'm super excited. How about you, Moki?
I'm just excited for playoffs. I'm excited to see how these games come off and who actually is the best teams in these 2 top divisions. I think you guys have been purposely losing a little bit just for cinema like you did last year. And we've been cooking at the church, and we would like to share some recipes. Hopefully, we get the opportunity to do that. That's about all
Are
I
you
have.
accusing them of throwing games? Is that what's
Oh,
happening right now?
absolutely.
Oh
I
my
cannot
gosh.
confirm nor can I deny. All I
Oh
can
my
say is that we
gosh.
are still planning on doing a repeat of what we did last split.
And
Listen,
on that, oh, go
they
ahead.
first rounded the MVP. How do you do that?
Yeah, there's something fishing going there. But on that note, I want to say thank you from our entire casting team for tuning in. Stay tuned for more matches coming throughout this upcoming week. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.